Hello, everyone on YouTube. So prejudging just ended for the Olympia. And as always in Bikini, we had some crazy, crazy things happen. This was, as I expected at the Bikini Olympia, things are always going to be nuts. I had my top 10 prediction, but honestly, there was probably 20 girls that could have taken anyone's places in that top 10, made exchanges out for many of them, and it still would have made a lot of sense. So I thought that I'd go over the Olympia, what happened during judging. I think there's a couple big stories at the Olympia of what happened. So I think the biggest story is probably going to be Laura Lee. You know, a lot of people were talking about Laura Lee winning the Olympia. She was definitely one of the strong favorites to win the Olympia. She was my favorite to win the Olympia with two Olympians in the show myself, but I thought she was the favorite going into the Olympia. What happened with Laura Lee? And this is the thing about Laura Lee. Laura Lee is amazing, and she is going to win the Olympia. Everyone knows she's going to win the Olympia. It's just a matter of when is she going to win the Olympia. It's inevitable. Laura Lee's going to win the Olympia. Like that is something that is going to happen. I just don't know when it's going to happen. It's crazy. But Laura Lee again this year beats herself. You know, no one beats Laura Lee. Laura Lee beats herself. When she is 100% on, no one can touch Laura Lee. It's just the reality of things. It's just how it goes. You know, she was 100% on at the Arnold, and you know, she was amazing. No one can touch her. But that's always going to be the factor: is can Laura Lee be 100% Laura Lee? Now, what did she do different at this Olympia than from the Arnold? Well, I don't know personally. I haven't talked to her myself, but the word is that she was up a little bit in weight from the Arnold. I guess that she was up about 5 pounds from the Arnold, 131 to 132 on stage at the Arnold, 136 or so at the Olympia. At least that was what people were saying, and she posted herself at one point. But who knows what the true numbers were? That's just what I knew going into the show. And it did clearly show. She was a lot more muscular. Looking at her when she first came out, I was like, she is muscular, but it still looks good on Laura Lee. Are they going to allow that look in Bikini, or is it too much? And they're going to, the problem is when you allow that look, you progress the sport another level, right? You're like, okay, now we're going to allow that much muscle. She's definitely more muscular. Her legs are the most muscular legs in the top 20 of Bikini, like 100%, the most muscular, the fullest legs. But she's also, I think she's the tallest in the top 20 of Bikini too. So of course she's going to have bigger legs, but they are substantially bigger. But they still, here's the thing with them, even though they're big, they're still very round and very pretty. It's a very pretty muscle. And that's the thing. I was like, maybe they will allow it, because even though it's a lot, it's still really pretty muscle. It's like a very pretty muscle. The glutes, I do think still are a little overpowering to the overall balance of the physique. And I think the legs are a little bit too, especially with the quad fullness in the upper quad. I think it's a little bit much overpowering her physique. But it's just a matter of her fine tuning these things. She will win the Olympia, just not this year. It's just not going to be this year like many of us thought. But I mean, pretty muscle, right? I mean, it's basically you take a supermodel put a bunch of muscle on her, but then she just went a little too far with the muscle. And we all know, if you guys watch her videos with Aldo, who's an amazing trainer, they work really, really hard. I don't know if any athletes work out as hard as Laura Lee does. And you know what's going to happen when you do that and you love working out, because she loves to lift. She loves to lift. What's going to happen? You're going to put on more muscle. What's going to happen if you, in the off season, you're a little looser with your diet and you work out that hard, you're going to put on a lot of muscle. That's just how it goes. That's the exact recipe to put on muscle. Eat more calories, lift more weights. That's no matter how you do it, whether it's 25 reps, 100 reps, 6 reps. If you're eating in a calorie surplus and you're working out hard, you're going to put on muscle. There's no secret to that. Okay, so Laura Lee looks like she's going to be in that 4th position. I would say it's a strong bet that she's going to be in that 4th position. And as always, keep asking your questions here, guys. I'm going to go through these questions at the end of this and go through most of them and go there. So now I think another big story is Ariana in her first Olympia. This is her 8th show. I was talking to Paul a little bit. I think he said it was her 8th show total. And that girl, watch out for that girl. So this is how crazy Ariana is. A couple shows ago, Paul told me, he goes, I think she could be top 10 in the Olympia. And I was like, nah, not yet. Next year, for sure. Next year, her lines are there. She needs more density. Like, it just needs a little more density to be hanging with those girls at this point. but she's almost there. Like she'll be good one day, right? Next year she's going to be fire. But this year, I think she needs more density, right? Man, was I wrong about that. And that's the crazy about Bikini is, man, I was wrong about that. In a few shows, she's progressed with her density, with her fullness, with her completeness, like show to show. She's growing in front of us. And honestly, I still stand by those words of the show she did when I first saw her. I was like, yeah, she needs more density, but she doesn't anymore. Like she needs a tiny bit more now. But Ariana, honestly, watch out for her as being a potential next Miss Olympia, right? She could be I don't know, next Miss Olympia, but a Miss Olympia, whether it's within, let's say within like 5 years, a Miss Olympia, if she does everything right, probably can do it because her lines, her structure, her beauty flow, her waistline, I think her posing can still get a little bit better, but really, really good, strong story there. I told Paul after, I was like, dude, that one's special. That one is really special. So cool story to see Ariana. And yeah, I'm sorry, I just assume you guys are knowing who she is. This is Ariana here in the red suit, but it's her 8th show, guys. She's looking like she's going to be, let's see. So this is 4, 5, 6. She's going to be 7th or 8th in this position. And one of the cool stories too to see is this. It's awesome to see Ashlyn's back. She was in the top 10 at one point. If I'm not mistaken, I think she got 7th at one year, a couple years ago. She kind of, fell out of that for a little while, not way out of that, but it came back now. So she's back in there. Jordane is back in there. Tough story for me with Jordane. I think Jordane has an amazing physique, but it looks like Jordane at the very end there. And so they did the second call out. Phoebe was in the second call out, was holding down the middle with Jordane, one off to her right. And then she stayed in the middle. They turned her a couple times, and then they moved Jordane in, moved Phoebe out one spot. It looks like Phoebe is in that 11th position, which is still awesome. Top 15. Honestly, as a coach in Bikini, I'm super happy with top 15. As an athlete, when you go from 7th to 11th, it's not a great feeling. But you got to remember, this is Bikini. She hasn't competed all year. This is a new Phoebe. We got to understand too. And we don't know the issues yet 100% because this is her first show since the Olympia last year where she's been 100%. She did the Hurricane show a couple weeks ago. Obviously, in that show, it didn't go the way we wanted it to. But this is her first show back with having new muscle, with having more muscle. And we need time to figure out, okay, what do the judges need to see from that? 11th place. If it's 11th, it might be 12th. I am very, very happy with that. I would have loved for her to get top 10 because that means she gets to do finals, which really sucks. And it breaks my heart because I really love Phoebe a lot. But that's Bikini too. We got to understand that, honestly, going into the show is that if they get top 15 and they're out of the sea of 16, then I'm happy, but not the day for Phoebe, unfortunately, even though she looked awesome. She looked really, really good. I stand by it. I wouldn't have changed anything. The only thing I'm seeing with Phoebe that might be the reason where Jordane pushes her out is that from the back pose, Phoebe does have a little bit more adductors, which Jordane doesn't. Daraja doesn't, and that would be another reason why those two could have pushed her out. But everywhere else, it's very, very close. I mean, you can kind of put them together. It's just what do they like? What are they seeing that they don't want? And today, that's what it was. Her tie-ins were in. I mean, everything is there. She was full. She was ready. We didn't miss anything. Her conditioning was there. Nothing was off. And I would put her on stage like that again. Ideally, I would love to have less adductors. I think that might hurt her a little bit, but I don't know how much that honestly truly hurts her. We're going to wait for feedback. We also have to go in and see, okay, do you guys like this new muscle? Is it too much muscle? Is it overpowering? Because she's a bigger girl. Clavicle width, 5'8". She's taller than a lot of these girls, like Ashlyn. I don't know how tall she is. I think she's probably 5'1", 5'2". Amy, 5'1", 5'2". She's standing next to them. She overpowers them quite a bit. Is it too much power, right? We don't know. She's got an extra 2 kilograms of weight on her now. That looks like, which appears to be pure muscle at this point. So is it too much? We will see. How do we got to fine tune her? We'll see what she wants to do next year. What I would like to do is to get her in a few shows next year, get some feedback, get in front of Sandy and say, hey, how do you like this new muscle? What do we need to do to bring her? How do we need to get her? Because I do think she has the genetics and structure to get to the Olympia too. But today's day was, who pushed her out was Jordane. I think Jordane is going to get 10th place. Jordane looked really good. She was a top 10 girl before too. So she's back in the top 10. And you'll see that happen a lot if you watch Bikini. You'll see girls that are in the top 10, 8, 9, and then go out of the top 10. For example, this year, it looks like Romina is out of the top 10. but she was top 10 last year. And then she's been top 10 many times before, and then out of the top 10 before. So in bikini, like those positions flop all the time. It's not like bodybuilding where it doesn't flop as much. It's like 1 or 2 spots. In bikini, it's like, it's all over the place. So you can't put too much into the end result in bikini because you can win. And in the same shape that you can win, you can get 20th place. And so, you know, that's bikini, but it's tough either way. You got to go with the punches. Now, going into the other people in the shows, we got to go into Ashlyn. What does Ashlyn's look? So actually, we'll go back into Jordane. Jordane looked really good. I think at the night show, she can improve her posing. I think that her back pose is a little off just with her arms. It's making her, I think it makes her look a little bit straight up and down. I think that her back can be a tiny bit more developed and her arms are a little bit too wide and it makes her arms look a little skinny. But that's like the one critique I have from her. She didn't look super comfortable in her posing and her individual routine. I don't know if she was just, it was nerves or the stage or whatever it was, but she didn't look 100% on her posing when I saw her. Not the typical Jordane that I'm used to seeing, which is like really owns the stage and confidence. And that back pose needs to change with her arm position, which is an easy fix, and it'll make her look more complete and from the back pose. Now, moving on to Ashlyn, who who looks like she's going to be finishing. I'm going to probably have Ashlyn in that even 7th or 8th position. It's between her and Ariana for that 7th or 8th position. Ashlyn looks really, really good. From the bottom, really from the waist down, Ashlyn looks crazy good. Like Ashlyn looks really, really good from the waist down. Bubbly, round. Now, the thing is, Ashlyn's short, so she's got those round, pretty muscles. But the problem when you have those round, pretty muscles from being shorter, you have these shorter, more compact muscles. You also have shorter, more compact muscles on your upper body too. And so because she's got these short muscles on her humerus and her shoulders, right? She has a very strong looking shoulder cap. I think it's too much. I think her shoulder cap is too much. I think it looks too dense up top, but just in her shoulders and arms. And I think that that's something she can correct and would probably move up the ranks if she corrected by next year. But those shoulders are very dense up top, you know? So that's like the one critique. Everything else is spot on. I like Ashlyn a lot. I think she's a dope person too. You know, she's always super, super friendly. And yeah, I would love to see her do well, but she's got this really pretty round, bubbly muscle on from the waist down, but the waist up, it's more dense, more hard. And I think that does hurt her at this upper level. And if she wants to crack the top 5, I think that she's going to need to hone that down a little bit, right? So what happened with another one would be Daraja. She went from 4th place, which looks like she could be even 9th place at this point, maybe even 10th, you know, as a worst case scenario. You know, and I've been saying this for a long time, and I like Daraja. I love Daraja as a person. She's super nice, super friendly. She's a dope competitor. Obviously, she was 4th last year. But when you put her physique and her structure next to the best structures in the world, she does have a wide waist from the facing the front. When she walks back, she's got a little bit smaller legs from the front, like the quad's a little bit narrow, the waist is a little wide. And then when you put her in the back pose, her glutes around the suit are always a tiny bit soft, that kind of the edges around the suit and that lower part. Now, I don't want to say that that's like, I don't want to beat her up or anything like that, but we're talking about picking the very best physique in the world. You're on stage to be judged. You're literally wearing a bikini to be judged. There's going to be critique on it. I hate saying it. Doesn't make me feel good saying it. But when you put her structurally and her weaknesses against the other girls who are pretty much bordering on absolute perfection, it becomes more obvious. I think it does hurt her at the highest level. To me, I've been saying it for years, and I always wish her the best, you know, but I do think that that's the limiting factor there is the waistline, the a little bit narrow quads from the front, and then the glutes can need to be a tiny bit tighter in that middle part of the glute, that these other girls don't have that issue. You know, and when you're talking about the top, you know, we're talking about picking the very best physique in the world. Sorry, but everything matters. It's tough. You know, everything matters, you know. So all right, moving our way up. We're going to work our way up here. Next, we got Issa and Amy fighting it out for 5th and 6th place. How do I think that's going to go? This is a tough one. I can see this being a split score. I don't think this is going to be a perfect score. Whoever wins that 5th place here. Honestly, I like both of them. I'd love to see Issa back in the top 5. That'd be great. But I like Amy a lot too. She's from Vegas, and I've gotten to know her a little bit better as she's done a posing seminar at a posing workshop with us. I just got to know her, and I wish her the best. And I want her to climb. Now, the thing is, they both have similar issues, right? So, and it comes down to the legs, right? From the waist up, very comparable who you could pick, right? Amy's a little bit fuller. Issa's a little bit more of an X frame, which does hurt in today's market, right? You don't want as much of an X frame, but it looks really good. Issa wins on the waistline. Amy loses on the waistline. Up top, very similar. Both very pretty girls. Their stage, their lines, their beauty flow, very similar. You know, so you have to kind of do the deciding factor by the legs. Now, from the back, Amy destroys, right? It's not even close from the back. Amy's got the glutes. She's got the tie-ins. She actually has really full glutes, really good tie-ins, but they're not crazy, crispy tie-ins. Issa doesn't have that, but her glutes do look fuller today. They look a little bit better, but her legs look great. Like from the side, when you see her walking, there's a lot of flickering in those muscles. The muscles fibers are flickering. You're seeing them. Very dense, very tight. You know, in her legs, the quads, they do look a little tight to me, but from the back, she doesn't look too tight to me. So I think that there's an issue of like how the fat distribution goes between those, because I thought when I saw her walking up, her legs were so tight and so dense. I thought when I saw her from the back, I was going to see hamstring separation. I was like, oh no, it's going to look like how she did in Texas again. And her hamstring and her vertical separation of her hamstring is going to be too much. We're going to see too much there. But she turned around and I didn't see that. But we didn't see the tie-in the way we needed to either. So it's just a development issue for Issa. She needs to get more glute tie-ins, right? Just needs to get more glute development, more glute tie-ins. And that should solve most of the problem. And that's the problem that they know. But hey, good for her. She's moving back up in the ranks. It's great to see it. If I had to pick, it's close. I would have Amy beating Issa in this one. Laura Lee getting a clear fourth place. But now let's go on to the top three, and then I will answer some questions. Remember, this is a little bit of a rougher. I'm doing it live, and I'm just using the pictures from NPC News Online. So special thanks to NPC News Online for these pictures. If you guys want to go and see these pictures, go to NPC News Online. J.M. Mannion is always the guy who shoots these pictures, and he does an amazing job. So I want to make sure to give him credit on that. So I am going to pull these up now. Sorry, I'm doing this live, so it's a little bit less fluid as my normal thing. So pulling up this picture here. All right. So looking at, let's go ahead and make this a little prettier. Sorry, guys, I'm doing this live, so. Sorry, I'm trying to find a pose picture here. Here we go. We'll use with Jennifer in the middle. I should have trolled you guys and put the one with Ashley in the middle. But all right, so here's how the top three went. Okay, top three, it was Ashley, which I'm very happy about, Jennifer and Maureen in that top three. The cool thing about the top three is, so originally there was, I think it was 6 girls in the first call out. Or was it 8 girls in the first call out? I'm sorry, I'm forgetting in the very first call out, if it was 6 or 8, maybe someone's watching can tell me that. It was Maureen in the middle, Jennifer, it was Maureen in the middle, Ashley in the middle, and Jennifer to the outside of Ashley, and Laura Lee to the outside of Maureen. They turned once or twice, maybe 3 times, and then they moved Jennifer in on Ashley, moved Ashley out to Jennifer's position, kept Maureen in the middle the whole time, split middle, whether it was 6 or 8. Okay, everyone's saying 8, so split 8. On the split 8, she was in the middle. And so it kind of, when that happens, it kind of sets a more clear understanding of what's going on. You're like, okay, it looks like Maureen's been in the middle the longest. Ashley was in the middle, the third longest, and then they moved Ashley, or the second longest, but then they moved Ashley out and moved Jennifer in. So in theory, at least the judge that was moving people around was like, okay, we have Maureen winning. We have Ashley was fighting for second there, or maybe even fighting for first at a point, but then they saw something and moved her out and saw something better on Jen, moved Jen in, and it looks like it would go 1, 2, 3, Maureen, Jennifer, Ashley, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's going to be how it's going to go. That's just how the movement went. Doesn't necessarily mean that's the way it went. All of the girls, so what happened was they ended up having the top 3 there. No one knew it was the top 3. We thought it was the top 4 in the middle. We thought Laura Lee was in the middle, and everyone was like kind of on the tip of their toes, and they're like, okay, when are they going to move Laura Lee in? Because we all know that's going to happen, right? Everyone going into this show, Laura Lee just won the Arnold. We all think that she's the favorite going in to win this show. So Laura Lee goes, And then they're going back and forth. I'm like, when's Laura Lee gonna move in? When's Laura Lee gonna move in? Okay, then it's like, is Laura Lee gonna move in? Is Laura Lee gonna move in? And then we're like, holy shit, I think she's too big. She might not be moving in. This is crazy. She's going to, this is her year, but maybe it's not, right? And then all of a sudden, Sandy goes, Maureen, Jennifer, and Ashley, you can leave the stage, essentially announcing who the top 3 are. And we're like, what just happened? Everyone in the audience is like, whoa, it's crazy because Laura Lee's still out there. And we're just still waiting for her to just go in the middle, right? Craziness, right? Crazy. But again, this is a scenario. Laura Lee beats herself. We talked about it a little earlier. So it's a crazy scenario. It's, again, she's going to win the Olympia. It's just, when is she going to win the Olympia? Now, okay, they have them leave the stage. They do the whole judging with everyone. Laura Lee stays in the middle of the next group. It looks like a clear 4th for her. There wasn't any movement. It's pretty obvious that it's 4th. Now, they do a call back. So this is what you're seeing now is the call back. So they go through all the judging and then they do a call back. The call back is these 3, Ashley, Maureen, and it's funny, I was going to say Laura Lee because it's like natural you say that. Ashley, Jennifer, and Maureen. Right? Starts off, Maureen's in the middle, Ashley's outside, they churn, Jennifer goes in the middle, churn, walk, all that. Ashley goes in the middle, crowd roars, right? They churn, they walk, they bring them all back, and then they finish off, they put Maureen back in the middle. So all of them had a chance in the middle, so it's not like there's a clear definition of like who's winning. Of course, some of this could be because it's the Olympia and they're going kind of for the stage and they're just kind of trying to create a production type of thing. But in reality, it could be that Sandy and Tyler are letting everyone fight for that first place spot. If you look at all the judging in full context and you analyze it, and you've been to as many shows as I have, which is probably getting to 1,000 at this point, it looks to me like we have a repeat champion, which is the first time we've had it since Angelica, and the first time since Ashley, right? Ashley had 3, Angelica had 2, and Maureen would be the next first time repeat champion, which has only happened to 2 people in the world. Is that going to be how it's going to go? I don't know. Here's the problem that you have with these 3 physiques. They're very different, right? And this is the problem with bikini, and this is why it's difficult. Bikini is difficult, and if you girls are doing bikini, you need to have some thick skin because you're going to have swings. You need to be prepared for this. Your coach can't be telling you, you're going to go in, you're going to win it, because they're lying. There's no one that knows that. It's impossible. The shape that Ashley got 3rd in today could have been the shape that Ashley got 15th in today because it's bikini, and they were looking for something different that day. Everyone came in soft or something, and she's too hard, right? It's just how it goes. They just preferred something different, right? But luckily today, she came in and she looked awesome. She made improvements from last year. The plan was take what the judges said from last year and let's make those improvements and let's see if they like it more. And they did. What did they want from Ashley last year? Last year, Tyler said she was a tiny bit tight on that video. If you guys watched that video recap that he did when he was kind of saying, hey, this is what bikini should look like, he said she was a little bit tight, so we brought her in a little bit softer. They said she wanted a little bit more shoulders, so we brought in a little bit more shoulders, a little bit more fullness. A very micro progression of her. I think it's an acceptable progression for bikini. 1 year after year, a tiny bit in the shoulders, a tiny bit fuller, a tiny bit more softness. I'm okay with that. I'll complain sometimes about bikini making too big of steps, and I think that's what happened with Laura Lee this year. She just made too big of a leap. The muscle went, instead of like this with Ashley, boom, a little bit of muscle, a little bit of body fat, a little bit of fullness, right? Laura Lee went, a lot of muscle, right? A lot more fullness. So you generally don't want to make these big giant leaps because it's going to generally hurt you. Jennifer brought a lot better shape this year than she did last year. I am very happy with this shape. So last year she was a little bit tight on her upper body. You could see her shoulder caps look too drawn out. And I talked about this earlier. Jennifer doesn't have the best body fat distribution. She does not lose body fat equally, right? She loses body fat faster on her upper body than her lower body. That's the one thing that hurts her really, really bad. If she gets shredded, her lower body needs more time to get shredded. But if she gets shredded up top, how lean she would have to get her legs to be as lean as up top, her up top would be totally sucked down, right? So not a good strategic move for her to do that. Last year, she was a little bit too tight up top. It hurt her. This year, she's like right in between. And I talked to her earlier this year. Jennifer, love Jen. Like, she's a Vegas girl. She's outside of like competitors that I train. She's like my favorite competitor. She's so super sweet, like great Olympia champion, like just a great for the sport. She told me, hey, I'm going to come in right in between those two. Like, not as soft as I was when I won, definitely not as hard as last year, kind of right in between. That's that perfect, what do they call that? That where those bears eat the soup, Goldilocks sound, right? Goldilocks sound. And she did that. So great job to her. To me, it looks like second place. Could be first though. We don't know. It could be a first place. It could be Ashley winning first place still too. There's 13 judges at the Olympia. They're going to throw out 5 scores, so 7 will count. Maybe a lot of judges liked her. Last year there was judges that had Ashley in first place last year. So maybe they like her. There's a big difference between these 3 girls, and that's why it's going to be really hard to decide. Ashley has that more bikini athletic look. Like it's more athletic, right? It's not as full and as round as Jennifer. Jennifer's rounder, but she's not as hard, right? So some would argue in a bodybuilding contest, I want to be a little bit leaner, a little bit harder, right? Look more athletic, right? That's the argument. Some judges like that. And then Maureen's kind of in between both of those. She's a little bit harder than Jen, but not a lot harder than Jen, just a tiny bit harder than Jen. She has that very pretty muscle. The tie-ins are really good. They're full tie-ins. They're not etched tie-ins. I saw her come out. I was like, that's hard to beat. I was like, that is hard to beat. Not upset if she wins again at all, because that is a really tough package to beat. Body fat distribution is equal from upper to lower body. The glutes are really full. She's round. She has that very, very pretty skin. Her skin is like, I always say it's like the trophy. Like when you ever see those trophies they hand out at these NPC shows, her skin is like the trophy. She looks like she's bronzed. It's like perfect complexion, perfect flow, good thickness to her skin, but not too thick where you can't see detail. I was on a podcast with Maureen yesterday, actually, and she was talking on that podcast. She's like, I like the current shape, the current conditioning of bikini because I can't get shredded. My skin's too thick. I just don't get shredded. I get like lean like this, but I don't get shredded. So I'm happy with how the conditioning is because it favors someone like me, which is cool to see because people are like, oh, there's no such thing as thick skin. I'm like, talk to someone with thick skin and see that there's no such thing. Talk to a coach who's done 1,000 preps and ran into that girl who can't get shredded, trying to get shredded. And Maureen's a perfect example of that. And she was, another thing about Maureen, she's a great champion. I talked to her about 3 days ago. We're at a gym. Actually, done a lot of stuff with Maureen lately. We're doing a photo shoot for Nebbia clothing brand, and Maureen is a rep for them, or an athlete for them. And I was like, how do you feel? Are you like nervous now that you're defending the championship? And she was like, no. She goes, I have like no nerves now because I already won. And if I only win one, then I'm happy. She's like, I did that and I accomplished that goal, which is crazy. And if I ever win 2, it'd be even crazier, but I'm happy with even just 1. So like for me, the pressure's all gone. I'm just having fun. I love the sport. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. And I was like, you know what? You like really won me over as like an athlete, because that's the right mindset you need for bikini, guys. Like if you go in and think you're going to slay every show, like you got some heartbreak coming your way, because bikini does not work that way. There is no such thing as an easy show in bikini. There is no such thing as a dominant champion who's going to win every show. We've all seen it. Look at Laura Lee today, right? She goes in, wins the Arnold, gets 4th today. She could win 3 shows. She can lose a show. She can get 4th. It's crazy. Look at Ashley, right? The most winning pro ever. She can win a show. She can lose a show to someone who's maybe only won 1 show in their life. It happens, right? Jennifer, the year she won the Olympia, I think Tampa, she got 4th place or 3rd place. Correct me in the comments here. There's no such thing as a champion that just goes in and slays and slays and slays and slays. It just doesn't happen in bikini, guys. It doesn't happen. Look at Phoebe today, right? Phoebe was a strong hopeful. No one didn't have her in the top 10. Everyone had her in the top 10. She finishes probably 11th place today, looking the best she's ever looked in her life. I still will stand by that. I think it was perfect prep. I think everything went perfectly. So it is what it is. That's bikini, guys. But we got an exciting one for you. My guess is, and I actually really hope I'm wrong, my guess is Maureen's going to win this. It looks to me like Jennifer is edging out Ashley. I think that will be a closer score. But I could be wrong on that. But to me, it looks like Maureen is walking off with this one. Knowing the judges and how they like things, I don't think that will be a perfect score either. I'm expecting to see Ashley with a couple number 1s. But again, at the Olympia, you have more judges than typical. At a smaller local pro show, you might have 5 judges, and then you're going to throw out 2 of the scores, so you get 3 total scores. At the Olympia, you have 13 judges, and you're going to throw out 5 of the scores for 7 total scores. So you get, I'm sure she's going to have some first places, but they're probably going to get thrown out. So the highs and the lows will get thrown out. She might have had some, well, no, she wouldn't have any 4s because she came back to the top 3. So she might have quite a few threes that'll get thrown out and a couple ones that'll get thrown out, because you got to throw out 5 of them to make it 7 that you're going to go for the collective average of the scores, to give a more accurate and unbiased final score for the world champion, which I think is totally fair, right? And that way you don't get someone who, let's say they don't like, for some reason they don't like whoever, Jennifer, right? And they're like, oh, I don't like her, so I'm going to place her as 5th, right? Well, that score would get thrown out. So it wouldn't count. So that's where, for the collective average of consistency, they're going to throw out scores to make it a true champion with no arguments. I wish more sports would do that. The IFBB does a very good job at making sure it's unbiased like that. So anyway, questions now. If you guys are watching the live stream, which I'm going to keep this posted on YouTube, you can tune out now unless you want to see some of these questions that I'm going to answer. But I don't think I'm going to answer too many, because I have to go back. It is 5:30 now. I have to grab Ashley for finals at 6. So I have to walk back. So questions will be the time. Let's see here. How do you get less abductors? That is a tough one, guys. So the main thing is, how are you going to get less abductors? So example, if some of the girls have more abductors, it's going to be very person by person specific. Any exercises that one of the things that we can do, and what I'm probably going to have to do with Phoebe, is I'm going to probably get these EMG sensors where I would actually, they're stickers, and I can put them on the trouble areas and go through exercises and see which ones are triggering them the most, right? It's going to be person by person dependent. So which exercises are triggering the most, we can put them on or say, okay, it's activating here, let's stop doing RDLs or whatever it is, right? Find the exercises that you feel a lot in the muscle that you don't want to work. If you feel them a lot, then probably stop doing that, okay? Okay, other questions? Oh, there's just a lot of comments. There's a ton of comments, guys. I appreciate all the comments. Doesn't look like there's questions, though. Could Phoebe get bumped to the top 10? It doesn't look like it on how the callouts went. It looks like she's 11th, if I'm guessing. Sucks because the finals only gives a top 10. 11th is a great spot. I'm like not upset about 11th at all for bikini. That's you get 11th, you get 7th, you can get 5th the next year, you can win the next year. Remember, guys, Angelica Teixeira, when she won the Olympia, she got 16th the year before, and she won the Olympia. Like that's it's just the day, who was where on what day and how it all went down. But yeah, this one, there's not really a way it would change, because they did a top callback on that top. They did a callback from places 4 through 10, and then did a callback on places 3 through 1. I guess something crazy could happen, but it doesn't seem like it would be possible. Highly, highly unlikely. Okay. Does second and third win any money? Yeah, they win a lot of money at this show. A ton of money at this show, actually. It's a good amount. Why would Maureen not win this year? That's actually a really good question. Here's the thing. All right, I'll give you a good example. Today in bodybuilding, we have a really weird scenario going on in bodybuilding. If you guys watch bodybuilding, you have Derek from the back is clearly the best, not even close. Like from the back, Derek is 100% world champion. No contest. From the front, he's not as conditioned as Hadi. Hadi has like these muscle fibers, like fibers in his chest, and just looks tighter. Derek doesn't have equal body fat distribution from front to back, right? So you have one guy who's killing it from the back, one guy who's beating him from the front, and then you have Samson Dauda, who's the biggest out of the 3 of them. So what do you go with? Do you go with the biggest? Do you go with the leanest? Or do you go with the best from the back, with the fullest from the back, who clearly blows everyone out of the water? It's anyone's guess, right? It's up to the judges on how they're going to guess that one. Pretty tough decision. Ashley, Jennifer, Maureen, a similar situation. Ashley is the best when you talk about balance and conditioning and that athletic bikini type, right? I don't think anyone's going to argue with me on those things, right? Glute profile, she wins there too, right? When we talk about beauty flow, right? You're probably talking about the line, like I'm talking about the flow of the body, not anything to do with the face, but the beauty flow of the lines. Jennifer is really good. Maureen is champion there, right? The flow of her body is so nice. Her skin tone, her pretty muscle, the roundness of the muscle, very, very pretty. We talk about wow factor. We talk about Jennifer Dory. She's got those strong, powerful glutes, right? Beautiful, beautiful girl. She's got wide clavicles, round, pretty muscle. Conditioning, though, out of the three, the worst, right? Who do you go with, right? It's apples and oranges there. Who do you pick? And that's a good thing about Bikini is it gives everyone an opportunity to be a top contender. The bad thing about Bikini is it gives everyone to be a top contender. So what are they going to pick that day? It's going to get very frustrating. You're going to have your days where you're the champ because they like you that day the most. They're going to have your days where they like someone else, and you're like, man, they went soft. And it's like not really soft. Okay. Let's see here. Can someone compete with scoliosis? Yes, Hallie Marmon has really bad scoliosis. She got a pro card. That's like the worst scoliosis I've ever seen. She's another pro, good buddy of mine in Vegas. Does Ashley's peak week change every show? Okay, guys, on the peak week thing, it shouldn't be crazy. I just did an interview with FemFlex Friday yesterday on a podcast talking about peak week. If you can just get lean enough, you shouldn't have to do all these manipulations. We didn't cut water. Ashley was drinking water all the way through this show. So the show started late, which I didn't like. I will say that. The one critique I have for the Olympia, you guys told the girls to be backstage at 9:30 at the latest. They didn't get on stage till 1:45. Why are they there at 9:30, right? They kept pushing it back, and they did an hour-long break. It's like, why are these girls there? They're backstage for 4 hours. That affects things, your water intake, your food intake. It affects things. So anyway, that being said, Ashley was drinking water all the way through the show. I think before she got on stage, she had 24 ounces, and she had her normal 2 gallons plus yesterday. So there's no manipulation there on the water. The sodium stays consistent. She keeps sodium all the way through. Same with Phoebe. Both of these are the same. There's no diuretics used for either of them. And then they just manipulate their carbs and fats till we get the desired look. The more things I can eliminate as a potential factor that we can't duplicate and repeat, then the more data I can collect for the next show, and I can just go based purely off my eyes, which makes it super, super easy. I don't have to worry about hormonal things happening internally and responses to food and sodium and water manipulation. I'm just like carbs and fats, protein stays the same, and I just trust my eyes. And if I can do that, then I can separate myself. I can give away all my secrets online, which I always do. There's no one, if you go through every one of my videos, you'll know almost every one of my secrets, but you won't have my eye. That's the difference. And that's what makes me special versus someone else, right? And that makes what makes the other coaches special too. There's not just me that's out there like that. But I'll trust my eye. You need more fat. You need more protein. You need more water. That's it. Eliminate it to those 3 things, and you can have yourself a lot of repeatable success. And that's been kind of my key to success. Good bikini coaches are more artists than they are good coaches. All right, questions. Savannah Watchman. Oh, that's sad. I know. I really like Savannah Watchman. She's actually really up there with one of my favorites. I like her a whole lot. I didn't like her look, her stage look. I think hurt her. I think she was a little bit sucked down. I think she dieted a little too hard. I think she could have been a little fuller. I think a little bit of food, and I didn't like her hair. I think her hair was too blonde. It usually doesn't have that strange of a contrasty thing to me, but that one was, I think, a little too much. I don't think her overall stage look really hurt her. I think those 2 things, and she fixes those 2 things, comes in fuller and more fed. And I could be wrong on that. To me, she looks dieted down. She looks like she had a harder prep, which doesn't make sense because she's always shredded. She just didn't look herself 100%. And then her hair, I don't think that her hair went really well with her overall stage look. I think she's going to need to just tone it down a little bit, which is unfortunate because I really like her. I want her to I wish her so much success. I actually would love if she can get in the top 5. Okay. Questions. I'm going through these questions, guys, on YouTube as well as Instagram. I think a lot of these questions are repeating. Dave Palumbo was very upset about the late timing. That makes sense. I'm not thrilled about it. I do think that's a problem they need to solve. This is the World Championships. If you tell Bikini to be there at 9:30, and then you freeze them for 4 hours backstage, probably something you should figure out for next year's Olympia. That's not something that these high-level athletes should be doing. All the coaches need to, you're like in panic mode. You're like, okay, eat another this, drink some more of this. Let me go do a check-in on you in 2 hours. That shouldn't even be a thing, right? That shouldn't be a stress. And then it's like, okay, are you going to start in an hour? Are you going to start in 2 hours? Like, what's going on here? Because you just told us we're going to be starting at this time. Now you're saying at this time. Now you're saying there's a break. Not ideal. Not ideal. Not at this level. Not at this level at all, honestly. So, okay. Hourglass is a good frame for bikini. S shape, not intense like an S. Okay, so this is a good, it's kind of a comment more than a question, but it is exactly what they're looking for. They're looking for an S shape, basically hourglass shape, right? They're not looking for that strong X frame anymore, which does hurt Issa. Issa has a very strong X frame. If you look at Issa and you really break her down and you stand back from it, she kind of has a figure bone structure. Her bone structure is more for figure, but smaller than it is bikini. It's not like curvy. The hips don't pop, but it's very like, if you look at how her hips sit and how her structure is and how her lats are, it's actually like a mini figure structure than it is more so just a true bikini structure. If you look at Jennifer, she's like the truest bikini structure you could get, right? This super, super hourglass, like extreme bikini structure. She's probably like the if you put a standard on the hourglass shape, it would probably be Jennifer in terms of the hourglass shape. So let's see here. Questions. I'm going to answer 2 more and then I'm going to head back. I got to walk back and get over there. Actually, a lot of these are comments, so I'm getting all right, I'm getting even more here too now. I'll go to Instagram for the questions. Okay, and yeah, so a lot of you are asking questions about Laura Lee. Just go back to the YouTube, and I'm going to post this so you guys can see it. I had a description of that earlier. I guess that's it. Okay, so actually, here's a good question by Rosie Mary Hearts. So if Maureen wins again, the criteria is staying the same as this year, or what would you say is different about her look? Yeah, I don't think much changed with Maureen. Earlier in pictures this year, I thought that she developed her glutes a little bit more. I think that that's not a progression in bikini, that she developed her glutes a little bit more this year. I think that last year she was lagging in the glutes, and that's what she did. She did her homework. If you look at Maureen and you have a very trained bikini eye, in that front pose, the profile of her glutes was out of the top 5, probably the worst in the top 5. She was probably number 5 in terms of the glute profile, right? Laura Lee would be number 1 in that top 5 this year. Ashley was definitely in that 1 or 2 spot as well. Well, Jennifer's up there too. So, but Maureen is probably the weakest out of that top grouping in the glute profile. But this year I saw her make huge improvements in her glute profile as she was going into the show. But that's not necessarily a progression of bikini. That's her catching up to a weak area that she noticed and she needed to improve on. So I don't think that's a progression in bikini at all. I think that this year, and I'm very happy that they did this year, that they said, Tyler and Sandy did a great job, and they said, we're going to keep bikini as it was. It's progressed as far as it needs to progress. We're not going to get it any bigger. We're going to keep it right here. And this is the standard. And if it's Maureen, Jennifer, or Ashley as a standard, it's not progressed from last year. Even though all of them have made changes and slight improvements, it wouldn't be a progression. However, if Laura Lee were to have won the Olympia this year, it would have been a progression. It would have been more muscles now accepted. If Amy were to have won, it would be more muscle is accepted, right? That's the thing. If Ashlyn were to win, I don't know if necessarily it's more muscle, but the shoulder capping is more than is typically accepted as a champion, right? It's a lot more density in that upper body. So these are the things where, we're not going to let that win because it progresses the sport. Is that something that they're discussing? I don't know. I think I want bikini to be accessible to everyone. It's an entry-level division. It's the first division you do as a competitor. And I think that it needs to stay not a 10-year physique. It needs to be that 3-year physique to get to that 3-year entrance, right? Men's physique now to win an overall at an NPC show in whatever, even California, Nevada, it's like a 5-year, 7-year physique, right? To win the overall. Bikini, I think it should, in men's physique, honestly, should have stopped around that same thing, 3-year physique. Bikini now, 3-year physique. It used to be, a 6-month to 1-year physique. Now it's like a 3-year physique. I think that's a good timeline because it should still be hard to accomplish this. But yeah, I think that this is not a progression in bikini. It does stay the same. And I'm very happy that they did that. And I don't know if that was strategic or just happened. I don't know if the feedback is going to be that she's too muscular now and too full for Laura Lee. That is my feedback. That is not necessarily the judges' feedback. We don't always agree on things. So, you know, I think that's what it is, though. I would put money on it, you know. So anyway, that is it, guys. I have to run back. I have to scoot back to get to Ashley and take her to finals. But yeah, hopefully you guys keep those questions in the comments. If any of you won the $1,000 and got the top 10 in order, go check the video. If you got the top 10 in order, those entries are done. I don't think anyone got it. Again, I keep my money. It is too hard. It is too hard for you guys to get it. I'm going to keep offering money every year until one of you guys gets the top 10. I don't think it's ever going to happen in bikini. It's just too hard. So anyway, guys, thank you so much. I will update you. I will be doing a live analysis on the top physiques, probably the top 5 of the physiques, because it's a long video if I do all top 10 next week when I get back. But thank you guys. Love you guys. Thanks for everything. It's been an awesome year, and I'll talk to you soon.